Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Empower World's The Coaching and Leadership Podcast. Morning, Janine. How are you doing?
I'm very well, Marie. How are you?
I'm good. It's only 7:30 in the morning here, and it's been already manic.
It has. And you've got children to look after as well.
So. I've done the school run. I've fed everyone. I've given them lunches, and here we are, ready to do our podcast today.
Yes. And we're excited because we've got a great guest today. But before we launch into the podcast, we've got a few things that we just want to briefly tell the world.
Yep. And one thing is we've got Sue Knight coming very shortly to do her NLP practitioners program. Very excited about that. Lots of preparation happening at the moment.
And so she's starting with us on the 23rd and she'll be with us till the 29th, so 7-day program. So if you are able to join us, if you would love to join us with this fantastic expert in neurolinguistic program, please do contact us on support@empower-world.com.
Yeah,
it's a fabulous program.
And we did a podcast with her not so long ago, so you can go back onto our podcast and listen to Sue's interview, which is really interesting. We've also done a webinar with her recently, which you can find on our website.
Fantastic. And we've got a couple of other things that are bubbling away, some exciting initiatives that we've got coming up.
Yeah, yesterday was a really wonderful day. In fact, the day before was even wonderful because we got some great news about some very exciting projects that are coming our way. So watch this space.
So we should get on to our podcast and our special guest who is waiting in the wings for us. So I'm really pleased to be able to introduce our special guest today, Colin Boyd, who is a coach who works with leaders, who works with top organisations, mainly in Australia, but I know he's done some work globally as well. So I was very lucky to meet Colin, I can't remember now, a number of years ago, at the early stages of both our coaching beginnings with the Coaching Institute of Australia. So, and when I met Colin, I really appreciated his presence and his energy and the way he came across. So it's a real pleasure to have him on our show today because I know that he's grown leaps and leaps since I first met him, and even back then he was amazing. So thank you, Colin, for joining us. Colin has worked with a number of great organisations such as Hewlett-Packard, Allianz and Fuji Xerox. I hope I said those names correctly. And he specialises in many different areas and, again, working with top leaders, supporting them to be the best versions that they can be as a leader and as a coach. And one of the things that we will focus on today is around his specialism that he's getting known for, which is around productivity. But before we go into that, Colin, if I could hand over to you to just provide us, the audience, with an understanding of more of an understanding about you and what you focus on.
Yeah, thanks so much, Janine. Thanks, Marie. It's great to be here. So Skyping in or Zooming in from Sydney, Australia. And in terms of my business, I've been running my business full-time for about 7 years now. If you've been in coaching for any period of time, you realize there's like a transition period that you go from kind of part-time to full-time. And so I'd say serious coach for about 7 years now, running my practice. And I had some amazing opportunities to work with some great leaders and companies across the world. And I guess for me, one of my real passions is helping people be more effective and productive with their time. And part of the reason why that is because I would say that was a big challenge for me personally. I don't know about you, but I'm probably more creative. I would say I am more right brain than left brain. I'm probably naturally disorganized than organized. So I did a whole lot of programs and realized that all the people who were running these productivity programs were naturally organized and I wasn't. And they were trying to teach me to be them and I wasn't them. So a lot of my clients, even in the executive space, struggled with some of the strategies that some of the guys were teaching. So I thought, hey, why don't I explore kind of what's really happening with the brain and what's really happening with behavioral strategies, and then come up with some practical ideas for people to use in the workplace. And I've found that to be really effective and productive. And so that's one of my passions now is around personal productivity and helping people in the workplace with that.
I love what you say. You said in there, Colin, you know, people try and teach others to be like them. And as coaches, we know we're all unique. And so when we share information with somebody else, it doesn't mean that they can do it in the same way. So as you said, learning how the brain works and learning what's happening inside, if we can create changes within, then productivity is going to be different.
Absolutely.
Yes. And I can totally relate to what you're saying too as well, Colin. It's not my strength. So we're really pleased to bring you on board to share with our audience, why it's important to be productive and to be effective. I was recently listening to one of Brendan Burchard's recordings where he talks about the 5 Ps, the top P being around purpose. And then what contributes to living our purpose is psychology, physiology, persuasion, and importantly, productivity. So again, we're excited to bring you on board to this podcast today to help explain, why productivity is important as a leadership skill or attribute or mindset that can support leaders to be the best version of themselves and leaders of others. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about that.
Yeah, so I know for me, whether you're in sales or in leadership, when it comes down to it, how you use your time impacts everything. And the quality of your life will be the quality of how you use your time. Because time is as well emotion. So if you're putting yourself in situations where you're experiencing, not the type of emotions that you want to be experiencing, then working on how you're using your time will affect how you feel about what you're doing. And then that will affect the quality of your life. And also where you spend your time affects the impact that you're making. And when it really comes down to it, the reason why I love productivity, it's not about being productive or doing things faster or even more effectively. It's actually about making an impact. And so when I say productivity, it is the ability to be able to finish work on time and go home and spend time with your family. It's the ability to be able to be at home playing Lego with your 2-year-old on the floor and to be present with them because you're not thinking about the 30 emails that you should have sent back. And so that's the reason why I love this. It's not about just being efficient or faster for faster's sake. It's actually for quality of life.
Yeah, and it sounds like about making decisions, about your values, setting boundaries, what's really important to you, and letting go of things that aren't, so that you can have the time to say yes to the things that really do matter.
Yeah, completely.
Live your purpose.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm quite a productive person. I believe, I don't know if you agree, Janine, but I believe I use my time really well. And it, from my perspective, it's about setting boundaries. I'm a wife, I'm a mother of 3 children, I'm a business owner, I'm passionate about this business of coaching and leadership. And for it to work for me, to create my balance, I have to use my time effectively.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, boundaries are huge. And that's definitely a major challenge that I find with a lot of managers and leaders in organizations is that ability to say no. And so even when they come home, we're completely hooked on our Crackberry, our, iPhone that just merges work and life. And so if you're on emails late at night, it's going to affect how you sleep, and it's going to affect your productivity the next day. And so that ability to have boundaries that you said, Marie, I think is one of the crucial factors. Absolutely. And there's a huge cost to that. And I was just recently doing a survey. I'm running, it's not on the idea of productivity, but I'm running a resilience program with a large organization in Australia next week. And what I noticed is that from the survey, one of the biggest kind of disparities that came out was that that most people, it was like 90% of people, say that they're doing work 4 or 5 nights a week at home. And it's just not sustainable. And so that's post-work, right? And so the boundaries have been blurred. So we have to personally take responsibility for our own boundaries and work out what works for us. And that has a huge impact on our productivity. And in fact, Parkinson's law, which says however long you set for a time for something to be completed, that's how long it will take. And so, if you are allowing those boundaries to be blurred to I pretty much work all the time, then that's how long it's going to take to get your work done, is like your whole life. But if you actually set limitations on your life, you're actually going to get it done more efficiently and effectively.
Fantastic. So already two great things that have been imparted, which is about to be productive, is setting boundaries, and also just being clear about how much time you're going to spend or how much time it's going to take to do a certain task or a project.
Yeah, totally. And one of I did quite a bit of research around this area and did hundreds of surveys. And the biggest challenge that I found people had in this area was distractions. And so, with our mobile phones, our computers, the level of marketing that's out there now, distractions are just such a huge part of our life. So being able to have almost like a distraction management system where you're reducing your distractions is going to make a huge difference in terms of your personal productivity. And so I guess one of the biggest distinctions that I've made in this area of productivity is how we actually become focused. And there's basically three limitations that align with this area of focus. And do you mind if I share them?
Fantastic. Please.
So there's three limitations that, in terms of understanding the brain, there are three limitations that you must understand. And if you don't understand these, you won't be able to get as focused as you could be. And basically the three limitations, the first one is that our brain's designed to be distracted. I think it was a professor in University of Michigan said that one of the challenges that we have is that we come from a descendant of people who were designed to notice the rustle in the bush. We were designed to notice the saber-toothed tiger so that we wouldn't die. So our brain was designed to notice stuff in our peripheral, not to necessarily be focused all the time. And that's a problem in an office environment when you've got, John next to you having a coughing fit. You've got your Facebook reminder popping up in front of you. You've got your email dinging on your phone. And so your brain is never getting to a state of flow. And so that's one of the first limitations. Our brain is designed to be distracted. The second limitation is that we've only got limited resource. So in terms of our processing capacity, we can't go all day full on at 100%. I think about our brain or our prefrontal cortex as being like a nitro-charged lawnmower engine. So as opposed to a big diesel engine that kind of chugs away, which would be our subconscious mind. But our conscious mind, our cognitive thinking mind, is like a little lawnmower engine with nitro fuel, and it burns really fast and it gets exhausted quite quickly. And many of us waste that on random emails and random tasks and distractions. So that's the second limitation. The third limitation is that we can only do one complex task at a time. And so we can do two tasks, but it has to be a routine, then a complex. Like, for example, at the moment, I'm moving my hands and I'm talking to you. So I'm doing a complex task of talking and moving my hands as a routine task. So we can only do one complex task at a time. So those three limitations have created a process which I call the focus block method. And the focus block method, what the distinction on this is that we need three elements to counteract those. And so the three elements of this is we need a clear task, which is that whole complex task. We need a distraction-free environment, and we need a set time frame so we don't work forever. And it's these three things combined of a clear task, distraction-free environment, and a set time frame that create a focus block. And it's in those focus blocks that we can actually do work that matters.
Fantastic. And Colin, the connection was just a little bit, I don't know if you noticed from your end, was a little bit hazy then. So if you wouldn't mind just summarizing those last 3 points again, just so it's clear for our audience, that would be great.
Yeah, so the 3 points are: we need a clear task. So we need a specific outcome that we're trying to achieve. And that could be, complete marketing project, or, call John about this particular issue. So it's a specific task. We need a distraction-free environment, so reduce our distractions. And that could be turning off our phone, turning off our pop-ups, and we need a set time frame. So usually I'll get, literally my phone, and I'll put a countdown timer of like 35 minutes or 50 minutes where it counts down, and it gives me a set time frame to get focused for, rather than just work for however long.
I think that's a wonderful tip and a great, we all use our phones, let's use it to empower us rather than disempower us. So setting that time, what a wonderful idea.
Fantastic. So, these are gems, absolute gems, Colin. And I know we're probably getting closer to the end of our interview. What other advice or tips would you love to impart to people who are struggling with even those kind of tips? That because as we know, people get stuck in their habits, and logically they might know these things, but still pursue old habits. What else would you recommend, advise to people to be able to start turning that corner and becoming productive in their day-to-day life?
Yeah, well, I think we need to stop lying to ourselves. And so what I mean by that is, so often I'll run a productivity program and I'll say, what's one of the hardest parts about, managing your time? And most people, someone will say, oh, well, there's not enough time. And so they're kind of lying to themselves that they're going to get more time. And so at a belief level, I think we need to come to a place of believing that it's not about time, it's actually about priorities. And so we're never going to get any more time. So this belief of, one day I'll be able to do it, or, when I get time is actually lying to ourselves. So having a core belief of it's not about time, it's about priorities is helpful. In terms of some of the other distinctions that I've made is that sometimes we're just not self-aware of the patterns we get ourselves into. So for example, if you find yourself being overwhelmed, sometimes the reaction or the reactionary approach is to run around like a headless chicken and do whatever you can. But the emotion of overwhelm is actually trying to help you rather than hinder you. And the emotion is trying to say, you're unclear on your most important task. And it's not trying to say you've got too much on, because one of the beliefs that I teach in productivity is that you're always going to have too much on for the time that you have. And so as a foundation that you're always going to have too much on, because there's always something else you could do, right? So you're always going to have too much on. So if that is a foundational belief, that can't be the issue. So the issue is actually clarity, not amount. And so getting clear on what your most important task is, and then if you've got too much on for the time frame, then maybe you need a team, you need a support team, but you need clarity on your most important task, and then being able to delegate that to the other people in terms of their most important tasks. The issue is clarity, not necessarily too much on.
Yeah. And also along with clarity is the issue of being 100% responsible. So many of us push our, say, oh, it's my boss, he's expecting too much, or he's pushing this on top of me. But it isn't about that most of the time. It's about the fact that we can't say no to the things that are most important. And we say yes so many times to the things that steal our time.
Yeah. So it was that boundaries conversation.
Yeah. It's about being responsible.
Yeah.
Totally.
And being aware of what's driving us. So people who say yes to everything, instead of pushing back, they're being driven by their fears, their unconscious fears potentially, which are perhaps not even true. So if we do this work, if we work with a coach or someone like that, we can become clearer about what's important to us, our purpose, our values, our top priorities, and understand what we can let go of, what's actually not really true. And really, I know that this would be something that you'd be doing, Colin, with your executives, is creating that awareness, creating that conscious awareness of that's just an old habit that I've learnt from a very young age that I'm just still carrying around with me. That doesn't work for me.
Yeah. And even for coaches who aren't productive, because we train a lot of coaches, Colin, and they come through and their questions are, I don't have enough time to get clients. Well, what else are you doing that is impeding you, stopping you from focusing what it is you want to do? So if you're a coach who's not being productive, get yourself coached about this, because having somebody to come in and have a third person perspective to empower you to show different angles on the way you're looking at your life, those blind spots that you have, is really empowering and can take your practice up to the next level as well.
Completely. Yeah, completely.
Well, thank you for being such a great demonstration of being able to turn your life around the way that you work. You're living proof of being able to learn what can seem an overwhelming new habit to learn, but actually at the end of the day, it's all about clarity and creating those boundaries so that you can fulfill your dreams, so that you can fulfill what it is that you want to create. So,
yeah, absolutely. It's such an important area to be growing. I think it's fundamental to everything, whether you're in sales, in leadership, and that's why I love it. It's just one of the areas that I really love, but it's a big area. So yeah, I think it's crucial to master.
It sounds like you're on a mission and you've got a passion for it. So keep changing that world that you live in for others and empowering them. You're doing a great job. So our listeners will want, and I know they'll want to know more about you, Colin. How can they find out more?
Yeah, so my main site that you can check me out, I've got a whole bunch of free resources on there and training videos, is www.colinboyd.com.au. And so that's my main site. And for those of you who would like to specifically learn a little bit more of my productivity strategies, I run a fairly regular free webinar training. It's called Double Your Productivity. And it's if you want to jump on board to that, you can go to, it's called productivityacademy.co, just CO.
Fantastic. And we'll put all of your links on our newsletter, on our blog, and on our own website. So if you want to find more about Empower World as well, it's www.empower-world.com.
And I've watched some of Colin's videos as a subscriber to Colin's work. So I highly recommend getting on board of those and listening to the pearls of wisdom that come from Colin. So thank you so much. Thank you so much,
Colin. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for getting up so early to do this interview.
Lovely to chat with you this morning. I know our listeners will get a lot out of it, Colin. And I have no doubt you'll be back on the show another time.
Yes, we hope you can join us another time. So wishing you...
Sounds good. We've got tons more to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. Wishing you all the best. Enjoy your evening in Australia with your wife and 2 children, your new baby.
Yes.
Congratulations.
And
thanks so much.
Speak to you soon.
And continue the activity.
I will.
Bye-bye.
See you, Marie. See you, Jane.
See you, Colin.